So I did already show this in the Git module, but Rider does have a concept of to-dos. So we've got the to-do window, so Control Alt and T, and you can set up custom. So if I go to edit filters here, then you can customize what you want treated as a to-do in your code. So out of the box, we've got like bug and to-do, and I've created one called done because quite often I put like a done comment for stuff I don't want to commit. Say if I've temporarily put a console write line in my code just to debug something, and I know I don't want that committed, then I can put a done : comment next to it. I do that rather than using to do because quite often code bases do tend to have lots of to dos. So I think having my name done : is just less likely to exist in the code base. So that's useful for my private to dos that I don't want committed at all. Now these patterns, so we can see that this block is patterns, and we've got filters down here. These patterns are regular expressions. So obviously that's quite a complicated regular expression. I wouldn't recommend trying to write it yourself unless it's a more basic one like this. What I would tend to do is copy an existing one and then tweak. So you can see I've just changed to do for done : When that happens, if we just go to a file, it doesn't matter what, I tend to encode. This isn't code, but it doesn't matter. If I've got a comment, I can do that and then do something. Or it might be a comment like write tests for this code, or something like and delete this temp code, or don't hard code me. If I put a temporary hard coded string in there, which I want to implement into configuration, but I'm just trying to get a spike to work, things like that. But you can see it's gone a different color because it's one of these, and you can see it's found one to do. It's probably because it's solution scope and I've got a folder open. I've not got a solution open. If I do current file, then we can see it here. So if I had a full solution open, that would show it. Or I actually have quite a few different options for customizing what scope I want to list my to-dos in, including my current change set in Git. I can click here and view them so I can quickly review all my to-dos. And as I demoed in the Git video, if I'm trying to do a commit that contains a comment that's a pattern in this to-do, then if I'm committing locally, Rider will give me a warning just saying you've got a to-do comment, and I can click a hyperlink and view that. If I'm doing a push, in the push dialog, it'll give a red warning. So even more in your face if you've got a to-do comment that matches that you're trying to push. If I click on filters again and edit the filters, then we've already spoken about patterns. If I do filters, I can click on this and choose, give it a filter name and choose these different patterns. And I can choose multiple ones. And that is what shows up in this drop down here. Other settings I can do for the patterns. If I just click on one, let's do the done one and do edit. I can give it an icon, so make it stand out a bit more. I can make that case sensitive. I can choose to override the color scheme. So if I untick this one, I can say, okay, I want the foreground red, and then let's save that. Then we can see that stands out as red. So I found this really powerful. As I say, I use done : I've used that for quite a long time as just something I started doing. And I find this really useful for not forgetting bits of temporary code that I'm working on, which actually we do all the time as we're developing, as we're spiking stuff out. And it's just a great reminder of those bits of code that you just don't want to forget and accidentally commit. In this video, we're going to look at a really powerful bit of functionality called language injections. Now what this does is, and we've already seen this earlier with the database stuff, if I just start a string and let's do select star from my table, let's say var equals, then we've got squigglers, and even though it's a string, we can see my table is in red, and we've got a bit of syntax highlighting. If I hover over, it says that no data sources are configured to run the SQL. So let's just quickly create a data source. I've already explained this in the database video, so let's just quickly do that. Let's actually do it from here like we did last time. Connect to database, next SQL Server, user SA, password, connect. So we can now see that squiggle has gone away, but my table doesn't exist because it knows it doesn't exist. So I can say, let's just right click and attach data source to make sure that EventWorks is selected, and then do product. So now we've got rid of the squigglers. let's just collapse that that's popped up. So we can see we've got syntax highlighting, we've got IntelliSense. We've already seen this in the database video though, but I was just wanted to emphasize that this is the language injections functionality that we're going to talk about. But SQL isn't the only thing. We could do like HTML equals, and what I can do is within the string, I can do our usual alt enter, and I can say mark as injected language or reference. And this gives us lots of options. So just to clarify, language injection means to take another language like one of these and embed it within your code. So let's say HTML for this example. I can then start doing like div, for example, and it does the auto-completion that you'd expect if you were writing in an HTML file. I could do a multi-line string and then do div, alt enter, mark as injected, and then do HTML. So I could do div, and I've done div tab, so you get that kind of emmet kind of completion as well with HTML. Now we saw that I had to explicitly do alt enter, but if I go to settings and we've got editor language injections, then this is the automatic stuff. So for example, like SQL, select, delete, if I double click, we can see it specifies a pattern here which tells it what language injection to automatically apply. So we've got those automatic injections and we've seen these temporary ones where I had to alt enter. The alt enter is kind of just local to your machine and it's easy to lose this. If I just copy and paste this file somewhere else, or I did something that wasn't just adding some more lines above it or something, then it's easy to lose that language injection. And it might just go, if I just copy and paste program.cs and make that program 2, no, we can see program 2 has lost it. So let's just delete program 2 now. So there's a few options to get around that. You can specify it with a comment. So I could do language equals HTML. In fact, before I do that, I'm going to cut that and then alt enter and uninject it, just so we can see that it's not got anything injected at the moment, and then paste that back in again. We can see that's automatically detected that from the comment. You've also got attributes you can use. So if we go to this class here, language injection, let's rename that to injection, not inject. So again, Control RR. So we've got some examples here. We've got 3 regular expressions. This property doesn't specify any attribute against it. And if you look, you can see that the dot star isn't in blue. So it's not recognizing that as a regular expression. I know we've got the /b's there, but all that is doing is recognizing there's an escape character. It's not really recognizing it as a regular expression. But as long as you're referencing this NuGet package, JetBrains annotations, then you've got these attributes. So you can use string syntax and you can choose one of these options. So like JSON, a regex, a URI, that kind of thing. And that tells it that that string is a regular expression. You can do the same thing. There's an actual regex pattern attribute as well, which does the same thing. And you've also got a language injection attribute. So you can specify things like HTML. So HTML wasn't in this list. You do have XML, but not HTML. But in the injected language, you've got CSS, XML, HTML, JavaScript. So this is really powerful. And while we're talking about regular expressions, this actually gives you lots of options. So if I do dot control space, then we get auto-completion and help. If I start grouping something, so if I do that, then we can see it's recognized as a group. If it's a complicated regular expression, then I can get AI to explain it to me. In fact, let's give that a go. Explain this regular expression with AI. What's this going to do? So you can see this has really broken it down and explained it. And I bet you can't guess what word that's trying to match.